Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back into another edition of Keytime Sports. Please like, comment, share, subscribe to Keytime Sports right here on YouTube, Key City Sports on Instagram, and the Key on Millions.co. Here is my media feed. Here is my profile so that you will know it's me. And here is my merchandise. We will be rolling out new merchandise at the end of the month. So, we are at the All-Star break, everybody. All-Star break starts tonight. There's one team that I want to talk about that is on the docket today, and that is the Houston Rockets. Houston Rockets, they are a team that has been in a championship drought almost over, well, directly over 30 years, right at 30 years. So now, before I get into their championship drought and their historical context as a franchise, I want to talk about their roster, their current roster. So here's who is all on their current roster. You have Steven Adams, Clint Capella, Isaiah Crawford, J.D. Davidson, Kevin Durant, Terry Eason, Dorian Finney-Smith, Jeff Green, Aaron Holiday, Tristan Newton, Josh Ogoki, Alfred Sigon, Reed Shepard, Jabari Smith, Jashawn Tate, Amen Thompson, Fred Van Vliet, and head coach is Ime Udoka. Now, we get to a point where we get to their statistics, and the statistics for the Houston Rockets, we all know that they are led by Kevin Durant. 25-8 for Kevin Durant. Well, 25.8 points for Durant. Sigon, 20.7. Thompson, 17.6. Smith Jr., 15.2. Shepard, 12.7. Eason, 12.2. Adams, 5.8. Holiday, 5.7. Agogi, 5.2, Capella, 3.7, Finney-Smith, 2.9, Jay Tate, 2.7, Jay Green, 2.3, J. Davidson, 2.2, and Isaiah Crawford, 1.4. Here's where Houston is at the All-Star break. They are the number 4 team right now in the West. But after last night's win with the Lakers, who knows? 4 and 5, they may fluctuate over these final few weeks before the playoffs start. So now, getting back to the Houston Rockets, their starting lineups. We're gonna look at depth. We are gonna look at depth in their starting lineup. Their starting lineup consists of Amen Thompson, Terry Eason, Kevin Durant, Jabari Smith, Alfred Sigon. So that's the 5. And then you have a couple of injuries here and there. You have Dorian Finney-Smith. He is listed as out. And Steven Adams, he has been listed as out. And this was a few weeks back. This was earlier this week. Dorian Finney-Smith, he was listed out for their game versus the Clippers. And Steven Adams on January 28th, he was listed as out for the season with a season-ending left ankle surgery. So, since Steven Adams is out for the rest of the season, your main center, let's see. Go back to the roster. I'm going to go back to the roster. The main center for the Rockets now is Clint Capella. Clint Capella or Sigon. Now, I believe that Capella and Sigon, they are going to pretty much, share time on the floor and not have Steven Adams. Because Steven Adams, he used to be on the floor before he got injured. He used to be on the floor at least a good 25 to 30 minutes in the game. But now, since he is injured and out for the rest of the season, Clint Capella, some nights, Clint Capella is going to have to guard the paint. And other times, Sengun, he is going to have to guard the paint. But all in all, the Houston Rockets, they have a good team. Their top three scorers, Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant. Also, Sengun and Thompson. Those are their top three scorers. And then everybody else, they pretty much just pitch in. And plus, the Rockets' bench production is one of the best in the NBA. Their bench production, the Rockets' bench production is 8th in the NBA right now, currently. And this is before the All-Star break. So let's see what it's going to look like after the All-Star break. Now, one thing I can say about the defense as far as defending the basket, opponents, the Rockets, they really don't emphasize defense at all. And I'm just going to say, in this day and climate, when we're talking about the modern NBA, if there's a game that doesn't reach maybe 120 points on both sides, it seems like that's a bad game, which really, it's really not, because at least there is one team that is trying, that is giving their utmost, and I do mean utmost, on the defensive side of the court, trying to defend the basket and trying to limit the amount of shots that your opponent gets. Now, the Rockets, they have the capability of doing that. I believe the Rockets, they have the capability of whoever they face in the first round, they have the capabilities of shutting down whoever they play in the first round. I don't mean like shut them all the way down by keeping them under 100 points, but as far as shutting down the opponent's best player, the Rockets, they have the potential of doing that in a first round playoff matchup. Now, they didn't get anybody during free agency, not free agency, but during the trade deadline. Trade deadline ended last week on Thursday. So not much has happened. And when it comes to their record, they are 33-20. So we see where coming into the season where the Rockets, they were supposed to be by default behind OKC for the best team in the West. But we didn't expect to see San Antonio in this fold. And now I am going to, a little bit later on this month, I will be doing a Spurs segment, because the Spurs, they have been doing really good. And I just think that there's going to come a time with any playoff series where Houston, they are going to have to rely on somebody else other than their top three scorers. Now, will they win a playoff series behind that? Maybe, maybe not. But what the Rockets are doing right now, they top 4 team in the West. They have a slight lead over the Lakers, but we all know that if you give the Lakers a fighting chance, the Lakers will somehow get in the playoffs, if not the play-in tournament. But if I'm the Rockets, I'm not trying to lose my lead on my playoff positioning, because if the playoffs were to end today, the Rockets would be playing the Lakers, and the Rockets would have home court advantage. Now, that is just right now. We are at the All-Star break currently at the All-Star break. And things will start picking back up the middle part of next week. So, the Rockets, from what I see as far as the Rockets, the overall team and their outlook on things, I could see them, getting past, the first round. But it's always that second round. The second round, will they be able to get past whoever they are facing in that second round? Now, let's say, I'm just going to do a hypothetical here. Let's say 7-game series, they face, let's see, the winner of, I'm just going to say this, the winner of Denver and Minnesota. So if the Rockets win their playoff series versus whoever they will be playing, they will face the winner of the Nuggets and the Minnesota Timberwolves. Now, the Rockets, they are going to have a tough time with either the Nuggets or the Timberwolves, because I believe that the Nuggets, even though they lack outside shooting most of the time, I believe that the Nuggets, they have enough big men and rebound and players that can rebound and also defend on the other end. The Rockets, they don't have that. The same as the Minnesota Timberwolves. Now, the Timberwolves, for the last, I would say, 4 or 5 games, they've been up and down. So they need to come out, because right now they are at the number 6 spot. And if I'm the Minnesota Timberwolves, I'm right there on the threshold. If the playoffs were to start today, I would have to go on the road. I wouldn't have home court advantage. But if I'm the Minnesota Timberwolves, I'm trying to do everything I can and start looking at what this team is. What after we win, after the Timberwolves win, if I was the Timberwolves, I would be looking at every other team that is before me and saying, okay, if they win here, we have to win here. If they lose here, we have to win here. So for the Timberwolves, and basically for the Houston Rockets, if they want to have home court advantage, the Houston Rockets, they just need to keep on winning. They do. They need to keep on winning. And as far as defensively, you can't outshoot a team. And that's what I think the Houston Rockets, that's what I think that their team is built on. Outshooting their opponent by however many threes they can and by however many free throws they can make. Now, for the first 53 games, they have been able to do that. But these last 25 to 30, it's not going to happen, because really the playoff seeding is about to heat up after the All-Star break. Starting at the end of next week, I wouldn't be surprised if these standings and statistics, they start fluctuating every night until the end of the regular season, because it's been like that over the past, I want to say 7-8 years when it comes to anybody. And I do mean anybody can come out of the West, because the West has been so dominant over the past 12 to 15 years. Now the East, you want an easier playoff, you want an easier road to the playoffs, go in the East. Play the East. Play any of these teams in the East, and you will have an easier road. But the Detroit Pistons are making it hard for anybody under them to get that number 1 seed. Well, the number 1 spot right now. But I'm going to go on and talk about Houston Rockets and give you all the historical context about the Houston Rockets. Now, the Houston Rockets, first off, they were a team that started, as far as the Rockets started, in San Diego back in 1967. And they only stayed in San Diego for 4 years, and then moved to Houston in 71. And then after that, for the first 3 years of them being in Houston, they didn't have a winning season. Then 74, they had a winning season. They won their first round versus the Knicks, lost in the conference semifinals to the Celtics. 75, they did not have a winning season. They didn't make the playoffs. And then here you go, all throughout the 70s. Then you get to the 80s. It seemed like things started to look up then, but you lost in the NBA Finals to the Celtics in 1980. Then you get to the NBA Finals again in 85. The Houston Rockets lost to the Boston Celtics. The late 80s, all it was just playoff exit, first round exit after first round exit in the playoffs for the Rockets. You get to the early 90s and the mid, you get to the early to mid 90s, you see that the Rockets, they go back to back. They win over the Knicks for the NBA championship, and they win over the Magic for the NBA championship. Then after that, we get to the late 90s, and they've gone into, from the late 90s up until now, it's been a championship drought. 95, you lost in the conference semifinals to the Supersonics at the time. Then you lose to the Utah Jazz in 97. 98, you lose to the Jags. 99, you lose to the Lakers. And then the early 2000s, we are getting to the turn of the century. 03 and 04, 03, 04, you lose to the Lakers. 04, 05, you lose to the Dallas Mavericks. Then we get to the mid 2000s, and it's not much going better for the Rockets. These were the Yao Ming years. If anybody is wondering what era I'm talking about for the Rockets, these were the Yao Ming years. And then you get to the early 2010s. 2012, that's where James Harden comes into the fold, and pretty much the same exact thing. You lose in the first round to the Thunder. Then it was a bunch of first round playoff exits throughout. Then you get to 2014, 2015. You get to the conference finals, you lose versus the Warriors. 2015-16, you lose to the first round. You lose in the first round versus the Warriors. 2016-2017, you get to the conference semifinals, lose to the Spurs. 2018, you get to the conference finals again and lose to the Warriors yet again. 2018-19 season, you lose to the Warriors in the conference semifinals. 2019-2020, you lose to the Lakers in the conference semifinals, and that was pretty much the end of the James Harden era. So now we get to present day, the last 5 years. 2020, 2021, Rockets were the worst team in the NBA that season. 21-22, Rockets were one of the worst teams in the NBA that season. 22 and 23, Rockets, the 22-23 NBA season, Rockets were one of the worst teams that season. 23 and 24 season, they finished at 500. Last season they were 52 and 30, lost to the Warriors in the first round. We get to present day. this is where the Rockets, they are 33-20, and I'm going to show you all their remaining schedule. And their remaining schedule is pretty, I'm going to say pretty tough. Because, okay, Charlotte, we all know that Charlotte is pretty much a flash in the pan, but Charlotte, for their last 20 games, Charlotte has won 13 of their last 20. So Charlotte maybe, and I do mean maybe, is trying to make a way for a playoff push. Then the Rockets have New York. Then they have Orlando, Miami, Golden State. Now, we already know Golden State, the Rockets and Golden State, it always come down to whoever have the ball last. And then we get to the San Antonio Spurs. Now, San Antonio Spurs, they're always going to give the Rockets trouble. Then you have a couple of East teams coming to play the Rockets. And those games could go either way. You have Toronto, Denver could go either way. You have Los Angeles Lakers twice, 2 times in 3 days. So you have Minnesota, which is also going to still be in the playoff fold no matter what. You have New York on March 31st. Then you have Golden State, Phoenix, and then to finish out the season, you have Minnesota, and then you have Memphis. Now, we all know Memphis isn't going anywhere, but Minnesota, that might be the last team that the Rockets may want to face in the first round. Because come to think of it, if the Rockets and the Timberwolves were able to play in the first round, the Rockets, they would have a lot of trouble on their hands. And it wouldn't be no foregone conclusion. Now, I think whoever Houston plays, whether it's the Lakers, it's not going to be a foregone conclusion there, because the Rockets, they have a young team, and the group of guys that the Rockets have outside of Kevin Durant, as far as playoff experience, it goes back to last year. And now you add Kevin Durant to that fold, he has so much playoff experience. He won 2 championships with Golden State. Everybody knows that. Now he is the determining factor and the domino that gives that team more playoff experience than it once had. What gives that group, this current group that the Rockets have, Kevin Durant gives them more playoff experience than they had coming into the season. So as far as where I see the Rockets season ending up, as far as the way they're going to end their season with record-wise, I could see the Rockets winning 58 to 59 games, playing in the first round against the Minnesota Timberwolves or the Los Angeles Lakers, and possibly winning a 7-game series there and maybe going to the second round. I mean, this is the Houston Rockets, and they coming into this season, the Houston Rockets were a championship contender, and they still are. And it's been 32 years since the Rockets won a championship, and I know that the owner for the Rockets, he would like to change that. He'll have a chance, and the team will have a chance to change that when the playoffs get here. And with that, That is my reaction. Excuse me. That is my remaining season outlook for the Houston Rockets. Please like, comment, share, subscribe to Keytime Sports right here on YouTube, Key City Sports on Instagram, and the KeyOnMillions.co. We have merchandise. Here is my profile so that you will know it's me. And here is my media feed so that you can see all of my clips, sound bites, and segments from previous shows and from the previous football season. Now, it's time for us to shift on over to the NBA. We got the NBA All-Star break tonight, and in the next few weeks, the NBA playoffs will be here. And remember, everybody, one last thing. The key is always on time.